Race day is upon us once again. I've got a feeling we're in for a special one today. The prestigious Circuit de Monaco then. It's not all that dissimilar today to the layout that made its debut almost a century ago. It's 2 miles and 19 corners through the streets of Monte Carlo, and although the average lap speed of around 93 miles per hour is the lowest of the season, the tiny margins for error make it the natural habitat of the safety car. And with me as usual is Anthony Davidson. Now, can I get your take on Max Verstappen? What do you make of their performance so far this season?
They've been avoiding mistakes and have had solid pace, so it's been a good season so far, but whether they can keep that up long term remains to be seen.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and starting alongside in P2 is Sebastian Vettel. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Bottas, Ocon, Alexander Albon, and Ricciardo, Leclerc, Perez, Norris, and Lance Stroll, Gasly, Verstappen, Daniel Kvyat, and Sainz, Magnussen, Raikkonen, George Russell, and Roman Grosjean, Giovinazzi, and Nicholas Latifi. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
Here we are revving up to 5 red lights, and it's lights out, and away we go. An age for the lights to go out. And it's Hamilton who gets off the line pretty well in front of Vettel, and he holds it into lead through turn 1. Bottas currently P3 in front of Ocon, who's done a great job in qualifying to take 4th place. In front of Albon, who's going side by side with Daniel Ricciardo. Ricciardo's on the inside, which becomes the outside for Ricciardo. Albon's on the inside now. They're going to come into the next corner. Albon's going to be on the inside of Ricciardo, squeezing him. Albon holds down on the inside. Ricciardo's around the outside. They're still side by side at Monaco. And Ricciardo takes it down the inside. But Albon's not giving up yet. He's coming back down the inside of the next corner. And they're still side by side, and Ricciardo just about gets in front, making up 1 place off the start, going from P6 to P5, and is now in pursuit of his teammates. We know Ricciardo is very quick at this track, and that is, I believe, Sergio Perez on the back of Charles Leclerc, and then that is Verstappen, who's had a horrible qualifying. This was simply just a crash in Q2, which unfortunately meant he could not participate in Q3. And his first lap is only good enough for P12, so that is why he started so low. But either way, as we continue to go down the field, and it is an Alfa Romeo of Antonio Giovinazzi in last place, actually, and Hamilton is pulling away from Vettel in that Ferrari, doing a great job, Vettel, to even be up in second place in that Ferrari. With the chassis that they've got compared to the Mercedes, I'd have to say Vettel is doing a very good job to hold second place. Bottas is going to be very quick. Ocon is being caught by his teammate Ricciardo, as Albon is just kind of sitting behind them, as is Charles Leclerc, who didn't have the best of qualifyings compared to his teammates. This is Max Verstappen. He's made off a few places off the start, but he is still stuck behind there, and he has a look at Sergio Perez down the inside. He cuts the corner a little bit, but he can't quite go for it. He's a little bit too far back. And it is going to be very challenging for Max to make his way up the field, but he has started on the harder compound of tire, meaning he is running a split strategy. Very interesting strategy to be starting on the harder compound of tire at the start. And Ricciardo has caught up to Esteban Ocon now. And that's Verstappen trying to go around the outside. or at least taking a different line through Lowe's than Sergio Perez is. As you can see, this is simply the problem with Monaco. These trains that are formed, and Verstappen touches the wall there. And since his car is sliding as he opens up DRS, but he's way too far back from Perez, and Perez also has DRS, so it's going to be incredibly challenging for Verstappen to make his way up the field today. And the Red Bull that was expected to be the fastest car, or at least the second fastest car here, but at the moment, it's looking like maybe the third fastest car, as even Albon is nowhere near the Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel. Like, he's in front of Charles Leclerc, so it is possibly second fastest car, but the point remains, the Mercedes is significantly faster this weekend. Ricciardo using overtake through the tunnel. But he's just a little bit too far back to make anything work on his teammate. Sergio Perez is doing a decent job staying with Charles Leclerc, but of course Leclerc is also stuck behind the two Renaults with Albon. So this is not the true pace of those top guys. Or perhaps it is, as the Renaults did a great job to qualify as high as they did. See, they're just all a little bit too far from each other to make an overtake on the straights, but they're all so close to each other through the corners. And Perez now, yes, he is losing sometimes with the cars in front to the Renaults, the Red Bull, and the Ferrari up ahead. And Verstappen is closing down on him. He's close right up to the back of Perez, but Perez is going to have DRS too. He's going to have the quicker car in a straight line. Verstappen's just a bit too far back, it seems. And he goes for it down the inside. Max Verstappen into turn one, and he just about gets in front. What a move by Max Verstappen. Aggressive stuff, and you have to be aggressive if you want to make your way up the field. Bottas all over the back of Vettel now. In fact, I don't really know how Vettel could have out-qualified Bottas, but he found a way to get in front. And Bottas is stuck down in third place. You can see Perez really getting very, very close to Verstappen. And Esteban Ocon currently still holding P4, which I believe matches his career best. And Bottas pits. Mercedes have opted for Bottas to take the undercut to possibly overtake Sebastian Vettel. And that's exactly what he's done. And Ricciardo's gone for the undercut as well. Some possible favoritism from the Renault. Of course, Verstappen had to go a little bit longer on his stint than Albon because he is starting on the harder compound of tire. into the pits goes Lewis Hamilton. And Vettel as well. And that, I believe, unleashes Verstappen into the lead of the race. He's going to have to really push on this stint now to make his overcut work. So that once he's onto the... So if he can possibly maybe overtake the Renaults if he really, really pushes, then on the softer tire he will be able to maybe chase for a podium, but that would require some incredible pace during this stint. And yes, Bottas has overtaken Vettel with the undercut, and that is got to be frustrating for Ferrari. They tried to cover him off as soon as they could, but Mercedes were just better with that reaction. And Bottas is in front of Vettel now. And Leclerc has overtaken Albon. And I do believe Daniel Ricciardo has overtaken Esteban Ocon. Yes, he has. So the undercut being very powerful here. This is leading me to believe that Max Verstappen may have just made the wrong strategy call with just the speed that these fresher tires can get up to. It seems they are warming up very, very quickly, and there are, and it seems to be much quicker to be on newer tires than to be on older ones. This is clear, as you can see. This is Max Verstappen. We can see Hamilton already catching up to him at an incredible rate. Hamilton just had some incredible pace in this race. And Ricciardo as well has had some incredible pace in this race as he is pulling away from Esteban Ocon. Who is now holding off the Ferrari Charles Leclerc, who was able to overtake Albon, I believe, in the pit stops, as Albon was probably being held up. And Ricciardo has gained 2 places from where he started. And P6 up into P4, and look at how much he's pulled on his teammate. He's absolutely flying Ricciardo. Despite Ocon being on the fresher tires, Ricciardo is really getting the most out of that Renault. And if he could get 4th place today, that would be an incredible result for the Renault team. After a tough 2019, it is looking like a somewhat better 2020, as they're at least able to match McLaren on pace. And look at how much Hamilton has caught up to Max Verstappen on these fresher tires, and that Mercedes being just incredibly fast. You can see the Mercedes is just gripping to the road incredibly well, and Verstappen is probably going to put up a big fight to hold 1st place here, but theoretically that would not be very smart to do. But of course we know Max Verstappen. But anyways, here comes Hamilton. He's going to have a look on the inside. Verstappen defends to the inside. Hamilton's on the outside. Hamilton, lay on the brakes. Round the outside goes Hamilton. What a move by Lewis Hamilton to take the lead of the race away from Max Verstappen. And now, Lewis Hamilton goes into the lead of the race. What an overtake. Of course, he has so much fresher tires, but around the outside of a Red Bull. And it was just an incredible move by Lewis Hamilton. Max Verstappen did put up a defense, but it wasn't a very good one, as Hamilton got past pretty easily, and now Verstappen is just losing so much time to Lewis. It's not even close, as these worn tires are really making Verstappen struggle, but he can't quite go onto the soft just yet, as they are going to be they are going to be dead by the end of the race if he does. And now it looks like Esteban Ocon is genuinely pulling away from Charles Leclerc. The speed of the Renaults today has been astonishing. They're matching the top guys. They're not matching the Mercedes, but they are matching the Red Bulls and Ferraris today. Which is just great to see. You know, it's been we never really got to see the Renault fight with the top guys this season. continue to go down the field. Looks like Giovinazzi's made a couple of places up during the pit stops, and here's Hamilton. And the gap he's got to Verstappen is absolutely massive. And even Verstappen has a big gap over the cars behind. And it just shows just how big the gap is at the moment. I do believe Bottas is stuck behind Daniel Kvyat, who Hamilton was able to get past pretty easily. And yes, he is. Kvyat currently in third place, doing the same strategy as Max Verstappen, running overtake briefly as he goes up the hill. He's holding them back, and that's just allowing Hamilton to just pull away into the distance, and Lewis has done an incredible job this race. Verstappen is matching the pace of Kvyat. He's a little bit faster, but at the moment it seems like he is actually going to get undercut by Sergio Perez and maybe even Lando Norris, who Verstappen is able to overtake at the very beginning of the race. Bottas just can't find a way through, and that is Verstappen into the pits. And we can already hear Bottas and Vettel flying past, and Kvyat. And out the pits goes Verstappen. I believe he pit a little bit before he was supposed to because the pace was just dropping off too much. The tires, he was really struggling on the tires, and they were wearing out just a little bit too much for his liking. But here he comes out on the softs, and he's behind Norris. That is very unfortunate for Verstappen. He's going to have to really push to make up any time in this race now, you know, to even make overtakes. He nearly goes into the wall there. He takes a very wide line through there. Looks like he understeered on the cold tires, but now he's really catching Norris. But here at Monaco, it is one thing to catch up to someone, and it is quite another to make an overtake on them. Of course, he was able to overtake Sergio Perez, but that did take a couple laps of Verstappen pushing. And in the end, it didn't matter. Verstappen running overtake through the tunnel. Give him maximum speed. And look at how late he is on the brakes. A little bit too late on the brakes as he cuts the corner a little bit. But here he goes, Verstappen. Norris loses the back end. Verstappen on the back. They nearly make contact. They're so close. And Verstappen, what a move! Down the inside. I've never seen an overtake there. And Norris just lost the back end, and Verstappen got a significantly better exit on the fresher tires and just sent it down the inside of the high-speed left-hander. And somehow, neither of them got any damage from that. And now Verstappen can really chase after Sergio Perez. We know Verstappen did go from last to P9 here back in 2018. Can he do something similar today? Can he push incredibly hard and make up those places out of track where it's near impossible to overtake at? Here's Verstappen. Look at how much he's already caught up to Sergio Perez. He's right up behind him now with the DRS, with the overtake button. You can see on the steering wheel he's activated it. He's going to go alongside. Perez doesn't have DRS, and down the inside goes Max Verstappen into turn one. A perfectly executed overtake. That's a brilliant move, as now he is in pursuit of his teammate. We see Ricciardo's pull away from Ocon, and Ocon. Sorry, no, not Ocon. That is Ricciardo, who has caught up to Sebastian Vettel and Valtteri Bottas. I never thought I'd be saying that. Of course, they were held up by Daniel Kvyat, but Danny Ric, what an incredible job from the Australian. Here at Monaco, he's incredibly fast here, and that's just being shown once again. Verstappen is catching up to his teammate. Incredible drive by Verstappen to catch up to Albon in this race. Surely Albon thought he'd be beating Verstappen this race. But Max has caught up and once again going very wide through a lot of understeer in the dirty air. And also getting caught up on the marbles. Max Verstappen losing the back end just a tiny bit there. Albon has DRS too, so it doesn't look like Max can really make an overtake. He's a little bit too far back. He's going for it anyways. He has to cut the corner a little bit. They make contact. They're side by side up the hill. Verstappen gets a better exit. What a move by Max Verstappen and his teammates. And that could have ended in an almighty crash, but Verstappen just sent it down the inside. Ricciardo's now losing time to Bottas and Vettel as that Renault is just not as good as the top guys, but Ricciardo is dragging that car up quite well. Hamilton just has a absolutely massive gap over Valtteri Bottas, Sebastian Vettel. And Ricciardo doing a great job in 4th place. Ocon pulling away from Leclerc now, which is very disappointing for Charles. Now Verstappen is pulling away from Albon and is in pursuit of Charles Leclerc for 6th place. Although now the problem for Verstappen is that those softs are not going to be as good as they were when he came out of the pits after making those 3 overtakes. Surely they are not going to be that much better than the mediums anymore. And Ocon is managing that gap to Leclerc. He loses the car just a tiny bit out of lows. Just trying to pull away from the Ferrari and go and get that 5th place, which would be just so important to the Renault team. And this would, I believe, be their best result since Italy 2019. If, of course, the positions stay this way. It doesn't look like Max is really catching Charles anymore. His tires are starting to go off a little bit. The tire wear for Max hasn't been great this race, but he has also been pushing that car beyond its limit today. And now Leclerc is back in the DRS of Esteban Ocon. a little bit too far back to make an overtake. Now we can see Verstappen struggling so much on his tires that Albon is now caught back up to him. And Verstappen has to take a defensive line into this next corner. Albon looking much quicker on his tires now than Max, who's really struggling on this set. And here goes Albon around the outside, Verstappen on the inside, Max brakes later. And Albon couldn't quite do what Hamilton did. And now Verstappen going defensive and they make contact, the two Red Bulls make contact. And Albon loses both of his end plates here on the final lap, and that is not what Red Bull wanted. An incredible race here in Monaco, and the two Red Bulls touch, as that will increase tensions within the team. But Lewis Hamilton, in dominant performance, wins the Monaco Grand Prix.
That's it then for another nail-biting Monaco Grand Prix. We were on the edge of our seats the whole time, but they've come through to take a stunning victory. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes. Let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. Lewis Hamilton takes the lead of the Drivers' Championship. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Max Verstappen seemed to just effortlessly weave through the other drivers today without a care in the world. He was definitely my driver of choice.
Let's move on to the constructors. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. Well, that was certainly an incredible weekend of racing. Be sure to join myself and Ant for more exciting Formula One action soon.